What's up? I'm Nate from Nate's Records. You're tuning into another episode of my record reviews. I have 5 Miles Davis albums. I want to talk about this stack of records and tell you what I know about them. First one is Bags Groove. It's recorded in '54. It's bebop, hard bop. All of these are bebop and hard bop. They're kind of from a transition period between the time of bebop moving into hard bop and a combination thereof. This features Thelonious Monk on piano, and on side B it's actually two lineups. Side 1 and side 2 have different lineups. Sonny Rollins on sax, Horace Silver on piano. You'll know Horace Silver is one of the founding members of the Jazz Messengers with Art Blakey. And on the other side, like I said, Thelonious Monk on piano, Kenny Clarke on drums on both sides, Percy Heath on bass, so the rhythm section's the same on both sides. Recorded in '54, Bags Groove, classic album. Miles Davis, Walkin'. This is the Miles Davis Sextet and Quintet. This is a little bit of a different lineup. This one I believe was '54 as well. And these were recorded in '54, but they weren't released until later. It's an interesting story. I'll tell you about that on the next few. Again, Horace Silver on piano, Percy Heath on bass. We have J.J. Johnson on trombone on Walkin'. And Walkin' is known as, I think, I just read it was the album that served as a transition for Miles Davis from the classical style of bebop from the late 40s and early 50s into what was known as hard bop, which you really have to have a tuned ear to tell the difference between bebop and hard bop. Hard bop has more of a gospel, blues, and sometimes even funky feel to it. They push the rhythms a little bit harder, but still it sounds a lot like bebop. There's the virtuosity in the instruments, a lot of lead, people stepping forward to take solos and stuff like that. So let's move on to the next one. Miles Davis, Roundabout Midnight. I think Roundabout Midnight was, it was '55. And this is Miles Davis' first quintet, which features John Coltrane on sax, features Red Garland on piano. Red Garland is probably my favorite piano player. Philly Joe Jones on drums. Roundabout Midnight. This was, I think, a commercial success for Miles Davis. It was his first release on Columbia Records. Going into this one, I'll tell the story about Miles Davis and his record labels. At first, he was on Prestige, and Prestige is one of the big 3 jazz record labels, along with Impulse and Blue Note. So Miles Davis started off on Prestige, but as he gained popularity, he moved to Columbia. In order to do that, he needed to fulfill his contract with Prestige, which meant he had to produce a certain number of albums. So he took his quintet into recording sessions, marathon recording sessions they were called, where he would knock out whole albums in one recording session and then gave them to Prestige to release so he could get out of his contract and go over to Columbia, which was a bigger label and would give Miles more exposure. So the next 3 albums are from those marathon sessions where Miles Davis was fulfilling his contract to Prestige. This is Cookin', the Miles Davis Quintet. And that's Davis on trumpet, Coltrane on tenor sax, Red Garland on piano, Paul Chambers on bass, and Philly Joe Jones on the drums. All jazz masters. You really can't get better on a bebop album. And this was recorded at Rudy Van Gelder's studio. And like I said, they were on a budget recording for Prestige, a small record label. So they made the most of their recording sessions, and during 2 recording sessions with Rudy Van Gelder, who is the most prestigious jazz recording engineer, they made the most of the sessions at his house or at his studio and produced 4 albums. Here's another one, Relaxin', with the Miles Davis Quintet. Same lineup. Relaxin's a little bit cooler, a little bit more of a chilled vibe, slower tempos. They're not quite ballads, but slower, cooler jazz on here. Relaxin', it's suiting to the title. And we have Steamin'. This was the last in the series. These were recorded in 56 and 57 and released in 58. So this was toward the later end of the 50s. Same lineup. This features one of my favorites, the song Salt Peanuts. It was written by Dizzy Gillespie and co-written by the drummer Philly Joe Jones, who's the drummer here. And Miles Davis and the quintet do an incredible rendition of it. It's quite similar to the original, but they kind of expand on it. It's really great. And all 3 of these albums, I think, showcase the ability of the Miles Davis Quintet to play subtly as well as really lay into the hard bop sound. And Miles Davis kind of shows that his mastery of the trumpet shines through on these albums that I just talked about. Especially the muted trumpet. Softly playing the muted trumpet, Miles Davis really shows his muscle on those albums in that respect. Those are my top 5 Miles Davis records. I hope you enjoyed them. Hey, leave your top 5 Miles Davis records in the comments below, and we can talk about them. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.